Gamers have gotten to enjoy Rockstar's incredible Red Dead series since May of 2004, beginning with Red Dead Revolver, Red Dead Redemption, and of course Red Dead Redemption 2. As each of these titles have progressed, the gameplay features have advanced alongside them, and today we're going to be looking at 40 or so elements from all three titles that could, or should, depending on your thoughts about them, make it into the next Red Dead installment. Welcome to the video. You're listening to Phil of Philby Gaming. If you enjoy the following, you all know what to do, and if you're new here and haven't subscribed to the channel already, after watching the video, please consider doing so. Before we get in, I want to give a quick spoiler warning for all three titles, and with that being said, let's get into what we came here to see. Let's begin with Red Dead Revolver. Most will know that a predominant feature from the Red Dead franchise is the ability to enter Deadeye mode, granting the player to slow down time, manually paint targets on their enemy, and blast away. This later featured in both RDR1 and RDR2, and it's something that definitely needs to make a comeback in the new title. After completing the story of Red Dead Revolver, players are able to access a bounty hunter mode. During this, you can replay most story missions, each with a set challenge awarding you in-game currency and character models from Revolver's Showdown mode, which takes us over to our next feature. Showdown mode is Red Dead Revolver's multiplayer aspect. Showdown allows up to 4 human players to battle it out on a single console against one another, using a multitude of characters across a variety of maps. In-world stores are something that needs to make a return in the next Red Dead installment. These first appeared in Revolver, where the player was able to purchase an array of items. This of course continued on in the latter Red Dead Redemption titles, and are something that definitely need to make a return. At the end of each segment in Red Dead Revolver, the protagonist must face a boss battle, something that's been popularised in gaming since the early days. Now I understand that as the RDR series progressed, it became a much more narrative focused and lost its arcadey feel, but maybe this could work as side content like an arcade mode. GTA 5 took a chance with multiple protagonists in Franklin, Michael and Trevor, but it paid off. Fans enjoyed seeing the game from 3 different aspects. Revolver did something similar. As the story of the title progressed, players got to experience their time as Red Harlow, Annie Stokes and Shadow Wolf among others. Multiple protagonists could be something that would entice players in a 4th installment. With each playable protagonist came a unique character ability. Shadow Wolf was able to turn invisible for some time, Jack Swift can quickly empty his weapon onto a single target, and Buffalo Soldier can impale men with a flare from a rifle. We saw similar in GTA 5, with each protagonist having a unique ability. It's something that will be interesting to see once more. Dueling is a popular pastime in the Red Dead series, and began all the way back in Revolver. Duels were a way to settle the disputes during the American frontier days, and are featured in all 3 titles. It's most definitely a must for the next game. Sometimes the player just wants to have fun, and what better way to do this than using in-game cheats. Cheats are available in all 3 titles and will no doubt be part of the next. The main difference being is that for Revolver, activating cheats didn't disable your ability to earn trophies and gamerscore as it did with the latter 2 titles. Allowing the player to enjoy this feature without losing the ability to save their progress is something that should be made available next time. Now let's move on over to 2010's Red Dead Redemption and look at some of the gameplay aspects that first appeared in this title that most definitely need to be part of the next one. Red Dead Redemption was the first title in the franchise to allow players to explore a more open world aspect. Now of course we had the Brimstone settlement in Revolver, but RDR gave us the entire map. This later continued in Red Dead Redemption 2 and will no doubt be part of the next installment. The fame rating system was introduced in Red Dead Redemption before being carried on over to the prequel, then known as the Honor System. This affected NPC reaction, clothing availability, and even what horse John could call upon. RDR2 brought much more in-depth effects to this feature, so it's something that should not only be brought back but expanded on even further. Red Dead Redemption allowed the player to access an array of different clothing, setting the mood for John's current situation or location, such as wearing a poncho in Mexico. Some of the clothing settings also came with special perks and grants, such as gang outfits allowing you to blend in, or the elegant suits giving the player the ability to cheat at poker games. Talking of games, some of these were very popular pastimes in Red Dead Redemption. Poker, as mentioned, blackjack, horseshoes, or my personal favourite, liar's dice, are but to name a few. In RDR2 we saw the return of a few of these, but RDR1 are where they truly shone. It's a feature that absolutely must return for the next title. Aside from mini-games in Red Dead Redemption, John could also take on jobs should the player wish to earn an extra bit of cash. Night watchman, horsebreaking and bounty hunting are worth mentioning. RDR2 expands on some of these, but also took some away. It would be nice to see an array of all of these combined alongside some newer ones in the later title. Depending on John's actions, he could accrue a bounty on his head for crimes committed. Depending on the severity, the amount of bounty hunters and lawmen would increase. John could pay off his bounty using either cash or a pardon letter to clear their name. Aside from said pardon letter, this feature continued on over into the prequel, and considering the next installment would more than likely still be set during the American frontier, where bounty hunting was a popular profession, it's a must. Criminals aren't the only thing that could be hunted in Red Dead Redemption, there's also animals. RDR introduced the player to a hunting aspect, also allowing them to skin their kill and sell pelts at the store for financial gain. John could even attempt to hunt down legendary animals such as Khan the Jaguar and Brumus the Bear. This continued in RDR2 with much more detail and is certain to be part of the next Red Dead. The cover system was an element first featured in RDR1 and it was an absolute necessity. It granted John a much better chance to avoid being hit during firefights. Further implemented in RDR2 with improved motion, it would be foolish on behalf of Rockstar to not only leave it out but not improve on it somewhat further. Stranger missions were first introduced in this title. They also carried on over to GTA 5 and RDR2. This gave players a break from the main story heavy narrative of the title and were often amusing. Each told its own small tale, such as Sam Odessa who's trying to walk to California, Jimmy Saint, a writer who keeps landing himself in the wrong place, and of course the Strange Man, who is a character still theorised to this day. Aside from the narrative-based stranger missions, players were also introduced to random events for the first time in the Red Dead franchise. These could range from kidnapped victims to NPCs hitching a ride to saving treasure hunters from bandits. This also continued on in Grand Theft Auto 5 and Red Dead Redemption 2. Speaking of treasure hunters, after John would save one of these victims from certain tomb, they would award him with a treasure map, beginning a 10-part minigame where John would track down and inherit gold bars, each find increasing in value when sold to stores. This is yet another feature that occurred in the prequel and should make an appearance in the later title. Newspapers made an appearance in RDR1, allowing the player to keep themselves updated on in-game world events. This was a favoured feature by players that is certain to make a return. Horses are obviously a necessity in the Wild West, so of course they were to be included in Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2, albeit only a small part in Revolver. But a feature on RDR1 that was taken away from the prequel was the ability to purchase horse steeds, allowing you to retrieve the mammal upon its unfortunate demise. When your steed passed in RDR2, due to the title wanting to be as authentic as possible, this feature was stripped, but it's something that could feature in future Red Dead titles, as players were obviously disappointed to lose their four-legged friend forever. About halfway or so through the main narrative of Red Dead Redemption, players were introduced to an entirely new setting, Mexico. This brought on not only entirely new scenery, but a whole cast of new faces and personalities. Unfortunately, Mexico was mostly stripped in RDR2 for reasons unknown, and although the player could either glitch or mod their way to the country, it was left predominantly empty. Adding additional settings and locations in the new title would be a popular decision to make. Lastly, for Red Dead Redemption, we of course had the very popular DLC, Undead Nightmare. Sadly, we didn't get to see a DLC in RDR2, potentially due to top writers and creators parting ways with Rockstar Games, but hopefully in a future title, this is something we get to experience once more. Moving on over to the features first introduced in Red Dead Redemption 2, let's begin with the ability to not only purchase individual items of clothing, but don them in a manner of ways. RDR1 brought us around 20 different outfits or so, but RDR2 went all out with this feature, allowing the player to completely customise the character of Arthur Morgan to their liking. Referring back to the hunting feature, in RDR2, this could be used to acquire Arthur an array of unique clothing items after tracking down particular animals, including the legendary animal hunts, which was now a much bigger part of the title than previously in the first Red Dead Redemption. Whilst either hunting for animals or tracking individuals, RDR2 introduced the Eagle Vision ability, granting the player the ability to see the tracks of their prey, prompting a small minigame if you will, allowing the chase to feel more authentic. Where John's physical appearance, aside from the clothing aspect, wasn't able to be altered in RDR1, Rockstar Games took this on board when creating the successor. Not only would Arthur's hair and beard grow in a real-time manner with the option to shave and receive haircuts at barbershops, but also, depending on his diet and nutrition, his body shape would alter, each with its own perks and abilities, such as speed and the amount of damage that could be sustained. One smaller feature that was first introduced in Red Dead 2 that oddly didn't feature in either Revolver or Red Dead 1 was the ability to alter the camera distance of the protagonist. This feature was placed in other older titles such as GTA San Andreas, so it's bizarre as to why this was stripped in RDR1 before being introduced once more in RDR2, and it's a must-have for any upcoming titles. As stated earlier, horses are a predominant aspect of the Wild West, and Red Dead Redemption 2 went all out considering the detail of this. It allowed the player to not only customise the appearance of the horse alongside its saddles and stirrups and such, but also allowed us to personally name them out as well as care for it, unlocking new abilities. A new feature introduced in Red Dead Redemption 2 that affected both the protagonist and his horse were cores. These were so detailed that they affected not only the gameplay but health and stamina. It was an aspect that brought a feel of authenticity to RDR2 and should certainly make a return. The weapons in RDR2 were incredibly detailed. Not only would they deteriorate over time and become less accurate and powerful, needing to be cleaned, but they were also completely customizable, granting the player to alter not only the appearance of their preferred firearm, but use an array of different types of ammunition. Referring back to John's fame level in RDR1, in the prequel, Rockstar Games altered it and introduced the honor system. Similar to RDR1, depending on your current rating, NPCs would react accordingly, but now this also affected store prices, different weaponry, clothing, and also cutscenes. Although heists were an ability in RDR1, in RDR2 it became a much stronger aspect. Not only were the train and bank robberies part of the main narrative, but could also be accessed in open gameplay alongside store robberies. The player would need to plan these out in a meticulous manner in hopes of successfully getting away with the goods and evading the law. RDR2 introduced a new feature when it came to dealing with the living characters of the world. Not only could Arthur either greet or antagonise NPCs, but also intimidate them into keeping their mouth shut should they witness a crime committed by the protagonist. This is an authentic feature that absolutely must return. Lastly on today's list, we have camp upgrades. In RDR1, even when John returns to his home of Beecher's Hope, there's nothing in the way of either customising or upgrading, but in Red Dead Redemption 2, not only could Arthur customise both his and everyone else's tents at camp, but also upgrade the camp, affecting everybody in a positive manner. Doing this also granted Arthur the ability to fast travel from his home to previously visited locations. Whatever the setting may be for the next Red Dead installment, this, or something of a similar nature, needs to be implemented into the title. What features would you like to see returned in the next Red Dead video game? Do you agree or disagree with any of the above too? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. If you enjoyed what you saw today, you all know what to do, and if you're new here and haven't subscribed to the channel already, please consider doing so. If you really enjoyed the content and wish to further support the channel, I do have a Patreon page set up, which you'll find linked in the video description. Thank you all for watching. You've been listening to Phil of Philby Gaming, and I'll see you in the next video.